10. Nutrients, vitamins, and good food help beat depression. There's growing evidence that what we eat can make a real difference. Research shows that nutrients in particular might be powerful allies in fighting depression. Depression isn't just feeling sad for a few days. It's a serious condition that affects how people think, feel, and handle daily activities. Scientists have found that depression often involves changes in brain chemicals, inflammation in the body, and problems with how our hormones work. This is where nutrition comes in. Number 1. The sunshine vitamin, as we often call vitamin D, does much more than just help our bones. Your brain is actually packed with vitamin D receptors, especially in areas that control mood and emotions. When vitamin D levels drop, these brain regions don't work as well as they should. The best way to get vitamin D is from the sun. Here's something remarkable. Research involving over 25,000 older adults found that people with vitamin D deficiency, combined with depression symptoms, had a 54% higher chance of having serious daily functioning problems. That's more than half of the people struggling with both issues. The connection between vitamin D and mood isn't just in our heads. When your body doesn't have enough vitamin D, it affects how your brain makes important chemicals like serotonin. Serotonin is often called the happiness chemical because it helps regulate mood, sleep, and appetite. Vitamin D actually helps turn on the genes that make the enzymes needed to produce serotonin. But vitamin D deficiency is surprisingly common. Studies show that people with lower vitamin D levels had between 17% to 24% more depression symptoms than those with adequate levels. Even more concerning, research shows that the combination of depression and vitamin D deficiency can increase functional problems by 62%. The good news is that vitamin D supplementation can help. Clinical trials have shown significant improvements in depression scores when people take vitamin D supplements, especially those who are overweight or have other health conditions. Number 2. Now let's talk about omega-3 fatty acids, the healthy fats found in fish, walnuts, and flax seeds. These aren't just good for your heart, they're essential for your brain too. Wait, there is more, but do not forget to hit the like button if you think this video is useful. A major analysis of 26 studies involving over 100 people found that omega-3 supplements had a beneficial effect on depression symptoms. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all omega-3s work the same way. There are two main types we need to know about. EPA, which means eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. Research shows that EPA is the real champion when it comes to fighting depression. Studies found that supplements containing at least 60% EPA worked significantly better than those with less EPA. The sweet spot seems to be getting 200 to 2,200 milligrams per day of EPA. When people took these amounts, depression rating scales showed meaningful improvements. One particularly interesting research looked at 165 people with mild to moderate depression. They were divided into 3 groups. One group got omega-3 supplements alone, another got antidepressant medication alone, and the third got both omega-3 and medication together. The combination group showed the biggest improvements in depression symptoms. This makes sense when you understand how omega-3s work in the brain. EPA helps reduce inflammation, which is increasingly recognized as a major factor in depression. People with high levels of inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein respond better to EPA supplements. A fascinating research found that people with elevated inflammation markers who took 4 grams per day of EPA had a 64% response rate compared to only 40% for those taking placebo. That's a substantial difference that could change lives. The inflammation connection is crucial to understand. Many people with depression have higher levels of inflammatory chemicals in their blood. These inflammatory substances can interfere with how brain cells communicate and can worsen depression symptoms. EPA works like a natural anti-inflammatory medicine. It helps calm down the inflammatory response and may protect brain cells from damage. Some research suggests that people with body mass indexes over 25 and high inflammation markers respond particularly well to omega-3 treatment. Timing and dosage matter too. Most successful research used EPA supplements for at least 8 to 12 weeks. This suggests that these nutrients need time to build up in your system and start working effectively. But what about getting these nutrients from food instead of supplements? While supplements allow for precise dosing and have been used in most research, food sources can certainly contribute to your intake. For omega-3s, fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and tuna are excellent sources. Just eating fish once a week has been shown to reduce depression risk by 16%. Consuming higher amounts of omega-3s from fish, around 0.5 to 1.8 grams per day, lowered depression risk by 31% to 70%. For vitamin D, it's trickier because few foods naturally contain significant amounts. Your skin makes vitamin D when exposed to sunlight, but many people don't get enough sun exposure, especially in winter months, or if they live in northern climates. People who are overweight or obese also seem to respond well to both nutrients. This might be because excess weight is associated with higher inflammation levels, and both vitamin D and omega-3s help reduce inflammation. The brain mechanisms involved are fascinating. Vitamin D affects how your brain cells grow and connect with each other. It helps protect brain cells from damage and supports the production of growth factors that keep neurons healthy. Omega-3s, particularly EPA and DHA, become part of brain cell membranes, making them more flexible and improving communication between brain cells. They also help regulate the release of neurotransmitters and protect against oxidative stress. Some researchers are now looking at using these nutrients together. The idea is that vitamin D and omega-3s might complement each other's effects. A large research called VITAL-DP is following nearly 26,000 older adults for 5 years to see if taking both vitamin D and omega-3 supplements can prevent depression. Number 3. Magnesium. The calming mineral magnesium is often called the relaxation mineral, and for good reason. Research shows that people with magnesium deficiency have a 13% higher likelihood of developing depression for every unit increase in their magnesium depletion score. This connection becomes even stronger with higher deficiency levels, showing a 19% increase in depression risk for medium deficiency and a whopping 58% increase for high deficiency levels. The mechanism is fascinating. Magnesium regulates calcium flow in brain cells and helps control the production of nitric oxide, which is essential for proper brain function. When magnesium levels drop, brain cells can't function properly, which can manifest as depression. Case studies have shown remarkable results with magnesium supplementation. Some people experienced rapid recovery from major depression in less than 7 days using 125 to 300 milligrams of magnesium with each meal and at bedtime. The supplement also helped with related conditions like anxiety, irritability, insomnia, and even addiction issues. Studies suggest that 500 milligrams of magnesium per day can improve depression status in adults. The mineral appears particularly effective for people with additional health challenges, as it addresses multiple systems in the body simultaneously. Number 4. B vitamins, the brain's best friends. The B vitamin family, particularly B12 and folate, plays critical roles in mental health. Research involving over 35,000 older adults found that higher intakes of vitamin B12 and B6 were associated with a lower risk of developing depression symptoms over 7.2 years. Vitamin B12 deficiency creates a cascade of problems in the brain. The vitamin is essential for making brain chemicals like serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine. When B12 levels are low, the brain can't produce these mood-regulating chemicals effectively. Studies show that people with depression often have lower plasma levels of vitamin B12. A research study with 89 patients, mainly children and adolescents, found a negative relationship between depression severity and vitamin B12 levels. The lower the B12, the worse the depression symptoms. Folate, Another B vitamin, works closely with B12. People with low folate levels are more likely to have poor responses to antidepressant medications. But when folate supplementation is added to treatment, it improves the response to antidepressants. The recommended doses based on research are 800 micrograms of folic acid daily and 1 milligram of vitamin B12 daily to improve treatment outcomes in depression. Number 5. Zinc, the mood stabilizer. Zinc deficiency is surprisingly common in people with depression. Multiple studies show that depressed individuals have significantly lower serum zinc levels compared to healthy people, with depression symptoms appearing when zinc levels drop to 1.8 micromoles per liter or less. Lower zinc levels correlate with higher depression scores on standardized rating scales. Zinc is particularly effective for treatment-resistant depression. The mineral appears to work by supporting brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which promotes the growth of new brain cells. Number 6. Iron. The energy provider studies show that people with iron deficiency anemia have significantly higher rates of anxiety disorders, depression, and other psychiatric conditions. The connection is particularly strong in young people, where iron deficiency can affect brain development and emotional regulation. Research involving 917 young adults found interesting gender differences. Males with iron deficiency had much higher odds of depression, with ferritin deficiency increasing depression risk by over 14 times. Females showed different patterns, possibly because they're more adapted to managing iron fluctuations due to menstruation. Iron deficiency affects the brain's structure and function. It impairs the production of myelin, the protective coating around nerve fibers, and disrupts the balance of brain chemicals like glutamate and GABA. This leads to problems with memory, learning, motor skills, and emotional stability. Number 7. Selenium, the anxiety fighter. Selenium might be the most underappreciated nutrient for mental health. Research with 831 children found that lower selenium levels were associated with higher anxiety across multiple types, including generalized anxiety, social anxiety, panic disorders, and school phobia. The connection between selenium and mood has been demonstrated in multiple studies. Adults who received selenium supplementation showed decreased anxiety and improved mood compared to those receiving placebo. The lower the initial selenium levels, the greater the improvement. A 5-week study with 100 micrograms of selenium daily showed that people with the lowest dietary selenium intake had the biggest improvements in anxiety, depression, and tiredness. This suggests that selenium deficiency might be more common than previously thought. Selenium works as an antioxidant in the brain, protecting nerve cells from damage and supporting proper neurotransmitter function. It also appears to play a role in preventing neurodegeneration and supporting nerve formation. Number 8. Chromium, the blood sugar stabilizer. Chromium's role in mental health connects to its effects on blood sugar and insulin function. Research shows that people with higher serum chromium levels have significantly lower rates of depression. A study of 1,137 people with metabolic dysfunction found that serum chromium levels showed an inverse relationship with depression. Higher chromium meant lower depression risk, with an 18% reduction in depression odds for each unit increase in chromium levels. This connection makes sense because insulin resistance is linked to both metabolic problems and depression. Chromium helps improve insulin sensitivity, which can benefit both physical and mental health. Clinical trials support chromium's antidepressant effects, particularly for atypical depression. A study with 600 micrograms of chromium daily showed significant improvements in symptoms like increased appetite, carbohydrate cravings, and mood variations. The effect was strongest in people with severe carbohydrate cravings. Number 9. Probiotics, the gut-brain connection. The relationship between gut bacteria and mental health represents one of the most exciting areas of research. Studies show that people with depression have different gut bacteria compositions compared to healthy individuals. Specific bacterial strains like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium appear particularly beneficial for mental health. These probiotics can influence the production of neurotransmitters, reduce inflammation, and communicate directly with the brain through the vagus nerve. A recent study found that participants who received multi-strain probiotics along with their regular medication showed greater reductions in depression and anxiety symptoms compared to those receiving placebo. The results were better than expected in terms of clinical effectiveness. The mechanism involves the microbiota gut-brain axis, where gut bacteria produce chemicals that can affect mood and behavior. Some bacteria can actually produce neurotransmitters like GABA and serotonin directly in the gut. Number 10. Curcumin, the inflammation fighter. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, shows promise for depression through its anti-inflammatory effects. Since inflammation is increasingly recognized as a major factor in depression, curcumin's ability to reduce inflammatory markers makes it a valuable tool. Clinical trials show that curcumin can decrease inflammatory substances like IL-1V and TNF-A in people with depression. These are the same inflammatory markers that are often elevated in depressed individuals. Studies suggest that curcumin works best for people with atypical depression symptoms, including increased appetite, excessive sleep, and fatigue. These symptoms are associated with higher inflammation levels, which explains why curcumin is particularly effective for this type of depression. The anti-inflammatory effects of curcumin may also protect brain cells from damage and support the growth of new neural connections. Some research suggests combining curcumin with standard antidepressants may produce better results than either treatment alone. SAMe, the methylation. Masters adenosylmethionine, or SAMe, is a naturally occurring molecule that supports brain function through methylation processes. Over 45 randomized clinical trials have supported SAMe's antidepressant effects. SAMe works by donating methyl groups to various brain chemicals, helping produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. This process is essential for proper brain function and mood regulation. Clinical trials show that SAMe can be as effective as traditional antidepressants, with response rates around 36% in some studies. The supplement appears particularly useful as an add-on treatment for people who haven't responded well to standard medications. SAMe is generally well tolerated, with gastrointestinal side effects being the most common. The typical effective dose ranges from 200 to 300 milligrams daily, with higher doses often needed for therapeutic effects. The synergistic approach. What's particularly interesting is how these nutrients work together. Many of them share common pathways in the brain and body. For example, B vitamins, zinc, and magnesium all play roles in neurotransmitter production. Iron and B12 both support oxygen delivery and energy production in brain cells. The inflammatory connection is another common thread. Omega-3s, curcumin, probiotics, and several minerals all help reduce inflammation, which appears to be a key factor in depression and anxiety. This suggests that addressing multiple nutritional deficiencies simultaneously might be more effective than focusing on just one nutrient. People with metabolic issues might respond better to chromium. Those with inflammatory conditions might benefit more from curcumin. For anyone considering nutritional approaches to mental health, working with healthcare providers is important. But the growing body of research suggests that proper nutrition could be a powerful tool in supporting mental health and overall well-being. On the screen, you see an essential video for you. Thanks very much for watching this video. References are in the comments section.